Hi guys, on that spirit of the strategy of empowerment, I hope you said hi to me. So welcome to Organic Adventures, and of course I'm your host, the Organic Guy. And this time around we are at the SACTEP Kenya offices. So we're here to see Maina of Kenya Biodiversity Coalition to try and just talk about biodiversity. What is the importance of biodiversity, and of course delve deep into a very controversial topic, depending on which camp you're talking about, the issue of GMOs. It's a very hot topic right now. There is pro and against GMOs. So we're gonna outlay and have a conversation around it, and hopefully you guys will pick a thing or two from this particular conversation. So what is GMO, right? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? What impact does it have in terms of agriculture and ourselves in terms of food production? Will it be able to make us food secure? Will it not? So these are some of the topics that we are going to touch and talk about, and hopefully it will steer a conversation that can be able to be talked about for many more years to come. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you're ready for this particular adventure, and just make sure you fasten those seatbelts and get ready to experience this particular organic magic. Alright, guys, welcome back to Organic Adventures, and as I promised you guys, we are one-on-one with Maina, who is the coordinator for Kenya Biodiversity Network. So it's a pleasure having you, and thank you very much for creating time for us.
Thank you.
So before we even go further, I think it's fair you have an introduction of what you do and what you're all about.
Thank you, Brian. I'm happy to be on the program.
Pleasure.
My name, as you've heard, is Maina, and I'm the national coordinator of the Kenya Biodiversity Coalition.
Yes.
Which is a coalition of over 60 member organizations all over Kenya.
Okay.
We have membership broadly from faith-based organizations, consumer-based organizations, NGOs, CBOs, and even animal welfare networks, all of them committed to issues related to biodiversity conservation and promotion of organic, or what you call agroecology.
Yes.
We have been in existence from as far back as 2007, working on these issues, campaigning on biodiversity conservation, protection of our natural resources. And in the recent past, not really recent, but we've also been quite key and loud on issues of biotechnology, and especially modern technology, modern biotechnology, which includes genetically modified organisms. As an organization, our stand is clear. We say no to GMO because we have key issues related to the socioeconomic concerns, farmers' rights, access to seed. Because for us, our biggest concern is who will control the seed market. Because if you look at genetically modified organisms, they are not products that naturally occur in nature. Naturally, you find male and female come together and procure. But with the GMO, that happens in the laboratory. And it's reached a point where the kind of laboratory process, be using the gun to do the genetic modification, the splitting the genes, is not very
precise.
It's not very precise, and there are key challenges that have come up because some of the scientists have raised concerns about a lot of the genetic disorders that have come up in the recent past, being because it can never be really precise. And right now we are going to where scientists are going a level higher to what they're calling gene editing, synthetic biology, which is not even defined under modern biotechnology, GMOs. It is not even included in the definition, even in Kenya, even in the Convention on Biological Diversity. And so there's a move towards trying to bring this on board because they're even more complicated. If you look over 20 years, maybe 25 years, countries like the US we've been told that have been growing GMOs and no one has died. But you find that genetic modification there is mostly on maize, which they call corn, maybe
soya.
On cotton, on soya.
Yes.
These are not products that are consumed on a daily basis by people. Most of them are products that are consumed by animals, the cows, and feed for animals and domestic animals. And so they are not, the impact is not directly. If you look at maize, for example, in Kenya, we consume it as ugali, as uji, as mahindi choma, and that is a direct product that we eat. In terms of legislation in Kenya, there's still that ban on GMOs that came into force in 2012. The Kenya Biodiversity Coalition was very instrumental in that. And we are happy that the cabinet made that decision and have remained steadfast on that, because until we reach a point where Kenyan scientists are able to do their own scientific analysis or even their own procedures in Kenya, it is not fair that we become people that are going to be used as experiments to test on some of these products. The multinationals that are pushing the genetically modified products are mostly into it because of accessing the market for the seed. Once you access the market for the seed, you control the food, you control the whole value chain, and that is a very dangerous. And you can see now, especially in Kenya, with the rising challenges with non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, a lot of it is related to our food, because we've reduced our food. Even when the government speaks about food security, just about maize. Yet there is need to diversify and go back to a lot of our traditional crops to ensure that we have proper nutrition and avoid the move towards a lot of the fast foods, which the younger generation think is the in thing to eat chips or fries every day. And that is a key concern for us.
So I think it's very fair. You've given us a really good overview of what you guys are all about in terms of the Kenya Biodiversity Coalition and what you stand for. I think now we know what you're all about. So before we go deep into these issues, why can't we just define for someone who doesn't yet know what is biodiversity?
Biodiversity is, can I say, what you actually see in a truly natural environment. In existence, biodiversity is, for example, if you go to a forest, let's say Mount Kenya forest, and there has not been much interference. And so there's a variety of all kinds of plants, what you may say, core weeds, herbs, and all this. And the importance of biodiversity is that natural environment where all these things are in existence, even the animals and even the plants, the insects, they're able to sustain themselves. For example, if you go to a forest, Mount Kenya forest, if you go to the Amazon, these are places where they coexist and are able to replicate. Even if a tree falls down, they're able to, others have the pores are there, they can grow. When the trees are growing, they're attracting the rainfall. It is a natural cycle. When you go to an area where there's no much biodiversity is where you find like monocultures. Let's say, for example, in the West, where you have huge plantations of maize. Or if you go into Narok and you have a huge plantation of maize or wheat. That system is not biodiverse. When you have that monoculture, you have many challenges, for example, of weeds, insects that are able to attack that particular crop, if it's wheat, if it's maize. Because when you have a biodiverse environment, let's say in your backyard, you keep it as natural as possible. So you grow all kinds of products, sukuma wiki, spinach, onions, pilipili. That environment is a push and pull for different factors. For example, if the aphids or the insects want to attack the vegetables, the onions and the pepper are able to repel them. And that's why we promote a lot of this biodiversity conservation. In everywhere, be it the forest environment, the marine environment, everywhere that we go, keeping it as natural as possible. If you look at, for example, our oceans now, there's a big challenge with the pollution with plastics. Whales are dying, and when the scientists do dissection, or they the stomach bursts, is full of plastic.
Yeah.
That's not natural, and that's why a lot of questions are being raised about even our marine environment and the pollution being caused by a lot of the plastic products. Yes, in Kenya we have banned our plastic paper bags, but the plastic bottles and all this are still a big threat.
Available, yeah.
And it's important that we move towards more ways to conserve and sustain our environment.
Yeah. So it's very important you've mentioned about now biodiversity, because the other day we also saw FAO, they released a report on biodiversity, the situation of biodiversity in the world, and it was very important to note that there is over 6,000 different kind of species that we can consume, but currently we are utilizing well under 200 species of them that we are consuming. So we are way under in terms of the diversity of food that we are consuming as humans. So going with that report, and they're saying that we are putting much pressure, a lot of the biodiversity is under threat. So why is it important that we should really be keen on conserving biodiversity?
Because at the end of the day, the diverse environment that we live in, they all contribute to our well-being, be it even looking, for example, for medicine. You find that a lot of the manufacturing companies that are manufacturing medicine are able to extract the products from various species all over the world. If you look, for example, the Prunus africana, the tree, the scientists have not been able to extract the active ingredient in it. And when you speak to a lot of the people who have experience, they say that Prunus africana is a good herb. The bark, when you boil it, and the roots is good in terms of protecting men, especially against prostate cancer.
Wow.
The interesting bit, the scientists have not been able to extract it and put in a tablet. So a lot of it is you boil the bark or the roots, then you drink.
Yeah.
Even when you go to a lot of the traditional communities, like if you visit men who are the so-called council of elders, and they see Prunus africana, many will know this is good for us. And when they do the soup, they boil the soup after, when they're doing ceremonies, they put a bark or the leaves of Prunus africana, and it's good. So you can imagine, a lot of this, over 6,000 species, we could have a cure for cancer there.
Definitely.
So we need to conserve them and protect them. For example, even in Kenya, some years back there was a scandal about an enzyme that was collected from Lake Bogoria.
Yes.
And this active enzyme, the active ingredient, is what is used to manufacture stonewash jeans. And the company that was able to, let me say, pirate or biopiracy, picked that, went with it to Europe, and have been producing stonewash jeans.
Wow.
The communities have never benefited from that. And if you look at the Kenyan population now, we have a big number of people who are doing science, and they can do that. So we also call on the government to actively support science and research. We are not anti-science, anti-research, but you want local researchers to be supported. Because imagine if a Kenyan scientist had discovered that and we could produce the stonewash jeans as Kenyan. Wouldn't be able to earn so much money.
Of course,
that company is big. The budget is like several times Kenyan's budget in a year. So we could have made a lot of money out of that. But sometimes we are not very patriotic as Kenyans. So it's important, because these people are allowed access by the government.
It's also important you've mentioned about that, because I noticed most of the eco-friendly and biodiversity networks are NGOs and private companies. So the government hasn't really held a grip on trying to protect its biodiversity. Yes, we have government organizations that do promote it, but can you say that the government is really putting a lot of effort in terms of protecting its biodiversity?
I think they are trying now. I know for a fact now we're in the process of developing a national biodiversity strategy. It's still in draft form. I think this year it should be ready. That's a big step forward. There was another one before, but not much had been done. But I see now, even with a lot of the bureaucrats within the government agencies, there's a lot of move towards protecting our diversity. Of course, we must appreciate the work that the civil society are doing, the NGOs, because we've worked very well together. Even in as KBIOC, we have contributed to that national biodiversity strategy that is being developed. And so the move towards is good, but we need much more effort.
Yeah, more can be done.
Yes.
So one thing that suddenly is not contributing to biodiversity is GMO. So when we talk about it, before we even go deep into GMO, I guess there's someone out there who doesn't know what is GMO. So can you sort of give them a light on what is GMO?
GMO stands for genetically modified organism.
Yes.
In Kiswahili, in Tanzania, they call it viinitete.
Oh, say that again.
Viinitete.
Viinitete.
Yes.
All right.
So genetically modified organisms are products of what we call modern biotechnology.
Yes.
And don't confuse biotechnology and modern biotechnology. Biotechnology is broad.
Okay.
The people who do brewing of local brews, they use biotechnology. The development of insulin that's used to help is given to people who are suffering from diabetes is through biotechnology. The process of baking yeasts, using yeast to bake bread, is biotechnology. The controversial bit is what they call modern biotechnology, which is a process that does not take place naturally, because if it is brewing of busa, that is a natural process. You just have to put the active ingredient. If it's baking, it's a natural process.
Yeah.
But now when you come to modern biotechnology, these are products of the laboratory.
Yes.
It's not your normal sexual relation that brings a product, or normal crossing of like if
genes.
It's bees, crossing of genes normal, or if it's bees that move from one maize crop to another to pollinate, that doesn't happen. It's something that's happening a lot in the laboratory, and that brings a lot of controversy because the process is not precise. It has caused some challenges with especially some people say some of the cases where children are born with a little bit of abnormalities may be caused by these genetically modified genes.
Yeah.
For example, if you look at autism, some scientists have suggested that. If you look at, for example, cerebral palsy, when you look at a child who has cerebral palsy, it's only one gene that goes wrong. Only one.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the child gets cerebral palsy. Wow. And so we are asking, the normal process of tissue culture, for example, to develop a tissue culture banana is very normal and it is right. But this process where you're taking and crossing species barrier.
Yes.
Because when you go to the laboratory, you can inject the gene from the tomato or from a fish that lives in the deep seas and cold seas to a tomato, so that the tomato can survive in a cold environment. But now we are going, that's food for us, and when you eat the food, it may not kill you today, but 20 years later you see the effect. It doesn't kill you quick, but 20 years later you see the effect. So a lot of the countries, for example, Zambia, in the time of their late president, Levi Mwanawasa, in 2002, the country was facing hunger. And the president was under pressure to accept GMOs. Until the Western countries were saying, this president is refusing to eat, for us to bring in GMOs, and the people are going to die. And he was very adamant that they are not going to accept GMOs. But when the pressure became too much, they reached an agreement, bring in the GMOs, the farmer will not save for the next president. Because when you bring it as grain, many of the farmers will like, will I eat everything? Where will I get money to buy seed next season? So they eat a bit and leave some and plant, and you cause contamination of the genes.
Seeds, Okay. So that other one, I think it's at least now people have an idea of what GMO is. It might be a foreign word to some people, but I think you've put it very clear. And there's some arguments that people have for GMOs. They say that this is technology. People have been doing it. When we cross, hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds have been, are GMOs because you're taking genes from one plant and transferring to another.
No, hybrids are not GMOs.
Yes, so that's the point that I want you to differentiate and try to, help people understand what is the difference.
When you're talking about hybrids, hybrids is pure crossbreeding.
Yes.
What happens, for example, if you want, you're in the Central Highlands, you want maize that's not too low, too tall,
high, yes,
or too short. You want some small, maybe a medium size.
Yeah.
You cross pure breeds, and then when you grow them, they give you the pure breed that is at the middle level.
Yes, yes.
And that happens naturally. It's maize.
Yes.
GMO is maize pig, maize tomato,
yes.
Maize. It's not the same species. You're crossing the species barrier.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm telling you, hybrids are not GMOs. They're just pure crossing of same breed to get a desired trait.
Yes.
And that's very okay, and we have no issue with that. Even in tissue culture, it's just getting the right species and crossing the same banana.
Yeah.
But when it becomes banana donkey, that's GMO.
Yes.
You're crossing the species barrier.
All right.
Yeah.
Something doesn't sound right when you say, crossing it from banana to donkey. It's something fishy about it. But now in Kenya, we've had a ban of GMOs. Was it since 2012?
Yeah, 2012.
2012, yeah. And then last year we saw the president sort of giving not a green light, but a hint that we may start growing GMO. So what has changed in the process since 2012 up until now? Is there legislation that has gone through that now the government feels it's ready to venture into GMO farming? According to your own understanding, what has changed in between?
When the government banned, the cabinet made that ban on GMOs in 2012.
Yeah.
They went forward and appointed a task force led by Professor Kihumbu Thairo to look at whether Kenyans are ready to accept GMOs or just do a research.
Yeah.
And remember, as the Kenya Biodiversity Coalition, we contributed to it. After 2012, again in 2013, Kihumbu Thairo they continued with that work. They were commissioned. Unfortunately, over 5 years down the line, the Thairo report has never been released. We have used our lawyers to follow up on that issue. The National Biosafety Authority, which is a competent agency that deals with issues related to genetic modification, and even the Ministry of Health, who commissioned that research, their stand is that the report has to be approved by Parliament, taken to Parliament, approved, then it can be taken to the cabinet. So we have been asking a lot of questions why that has not happened. Our belief is that the Thairo report recommends Kenyans are not ready for GMOs, because why the stalling? Why the desire not to release this report? And also with the ban, there's been a lot of pressure. A few years back, there were people who were saying we're going to lift this ban in a few months and all this. And then there's the big push for BT cotton.
Yes.
When you speak with people out there, they tell you we have moved away from maize, because maize, you have made it very controversial. We're going to BT cotton, because BT cotton is just fabric. That's fabric. But the truth is, BT cotton is only 40% fabric. 60% is cottonseed oil, which you use for cooking.
Wow.
Cottonseed oil.
Yeah.
It's cottonseed cake that goes into animal feed. It's cotton straw that also goes into animal feed. 60%.
Yeah.
Only 40% ends up as fabric. And if you look at countries like India, where BT cotton has been grown, there have been even cases of allergies because of the use of BT cotton.
Yeah.
Burkina Faso started growing BT cotton, and in 2 years they banned it, 2016. The reason being, the variety that they were introduced to, which is the one that is also being pushed in Kenya, was a shorter strand. So Burkina Faso went to be a huge exporter, one of the leading exporter of cotton to Europe and America.
Yes.
And it came to bottom of the group because the strands were shorter. Who wants a short strand? They prefer long strands so that the spinning is very easy.
Yeah.
It reached a decision in 2016. The Burkina Faso government said we don't want BT cotton. They banned it. They went back to their conventional varieties. If you look, for example, in Kenya, the reason why the cotton industry went down was not an issue about the variety. It was a conventional variety. was not variety. Farmers were not getting paid for their cotton. Okay. The cooperative sector went down. The Cotton Development Authority was not fulfilling its mandate to the farmers. They would supply the cotton. Yeah. They would not get paid. Eventually, the farmers abandoned this cotton. It's not worth because you're not getting money for it, you're not getting value for it, and that's how Kenya went down in the cotton sector. Wow. So there's a lot of people misadvising our government and our president, saying that BT cotton is the way to go. Yet, BT cotton, the price of BT cotton will be almost 40 times the cost of the conventional varieties. Wow. I've written an article on this. It will be almost 40 times. The beneficiary is a multinational pushing it. Yes. So it's about control of market, control of resources. Wow. Of course, this multinational repatriates most of its profit outside. Who is the beneficiary? Will the farmer be able to afford that seed?
No, true. I don't think
Is it really going to contribute to the Big Four agenda? I don't think so. Yeah. In the textile industry, it is not. Yeah. We are better off to start off with the conventional variety. Look at it, because it was not the reason why the textile industry failed in Kenya. Yeah. And so that is our biggest challenge with this push. And I believe our president has a lot of goodwill with us. Yes. But there are people who are pushing this agenda because for them, it is about making money and profit for multinationals.
Yeah.